friends. Welcome back to 365 Days of Love and Miracles with A Course in Miracles. My name is Arlene Geres, and I am so glad that you are here. Please remember to listen right until the very end, because we have a special treat for you. And if you enjoyed today's video, please click like and subscribe down below, because this helps others to find us on YouTube. Today's lesson is lesson number 304. Let not my world obscure the light of Christ. Yesterday's lesson was, the Holy Christ is born in me today. When we accept that, then we accept that we have the light of Christ in us. We want to carefully guard against the worries, trials, and problems of this world from blocking this light that always lives inside of every single one of us. I can obscure my holy sight if I intrude my world upon it, nor can I behold the holy sights Christ looks upon unless it is his vision that I use. Perception is a mirror, not a fact. And what I look on is my state of mind reflected outward. I would bless the world by looking on it through the eyes of Christ, and I will look upon the certain signs that all my sins have been forgiven me. We want to carefully protect our minds from the intrusions of the world. This means being careful what we watch, what we listen to. If we're listening to negative programs all day long, we cannot expect to have the mind of Christ. While we certainly want to know what's going on in the world, we can generally find out in about 5 minutes. We don't need to hear the blow-by-blow of all the negativity that goes on. My husband always likes to say, dog bites man does not sell, man bites dog does. The news is meant to sell, and for some reason, negative news seems to attract a lot more attention, and thus a lot more dollars than positive news. There's lots of good things going on in the world, but it's our job to be sure to keep our minds there, to not focus on all of the problems. This does not mean that we hide our heads in the sand, and where we are moved, we certainly want to take action to try to make the world a better place, but we don't focus on all of the problems. We make it an intentional practice to ask to see through the eyes of Christ, to think with the mind of Christ. I invite you to imagine that the world that we normally see is like a veil drawn across the real world, the world of goodness and beauty and light. We want to learn how to look right through that veil, to see beyond all of the sorrow, all of the pain, all of the problems, and to see only the goodness, the happiness, and the joy that lives beyond. Many of the lessons in the course point to this. For example, lesson 290, my present happiness is all I see. We're looking past the things of this world to see the real happiness that is beyond. This is an especially helpful practice when we're looking in the mirror at our own face or whenever we encounter someone else. Let not our preconceived judgments, our conditioning, old stories, any resentments prevent us from seeing the face of Christ in our face and in the face of everyone we meet. We want to accept that perception is a mirror, not a fact. Whatever we're looking at is simply mirroring back to us what is already in our minds. When we learn to think with the mind of Christ, we are only going to see love. We want to learn how to bless the world, bless ourselves, and bless everyone that we meet. Bless every experience. Bless what is going on out there in the world of the news. Don't let it sink into your spirit. Just send blessings. And best of all, we will look on all our sins as being forgiven. We will accept that we have already been forgiven. There's no one keeping accounts. We tend to do that. We're the ones that keep ourselves in prison. We can let ourselves free through forgiving ourselves and thus forgiving others. If you would like to close your eyes, I'll read the final prayer. You lead me from darkness to the light, from sin to holiness. Let me forgive and thus receive salvation for the world. It is your gift, my Father, given me to offer to your Holy Son, that he may find again the memory of you and of your Son as you created him. Let's talk about it. When we forgive ourselves and forgive others, we are led to the holy light. We can see this light in ourselves, and we can see this light in others. This is the gift that is given to us. This is the gift that we share with the world. I invite you to do that today. I encourage you to think of anyone that you're holding any kind of a grudge against. Who do you need to forgive today? Maybe it's yourself. Maybe it's someone else. Remembering that we're all one. Stop and think about that and give the gift of forgiveness to yourself and to anyone else that you're holding a resentment against. When we do this, we recognize ourselves as being part of God. We have the sight of Christ, and we are able to see the entire world in the same way. Let's read paragraph 4 of what is the second coming. The second coming is the one event in time which time itself cannot affect. For everyone who ever came to die, or yet will come, or who is present now, is equally released from what he made. In this equality is Christ restored as one identity, in which the sons of God acknowledge that they all are one. And God the Father smiles upon his Son, his one creation, and his only joy. That's you, that's me. We are all God's one and only Son. We are part of all creation and one with God. God smiles upon you, and God smiles upon me. He smiles on all of us with joy. The second coming, as described here, is the correction of mistakes and the return of sanity. This is what we're aiming for when we practice true forgiveness, when we accept our oneness with God and all of creation. I hope this lesson helped you to do that today. Our practice periods for today: first thing in the morning, last thing just before we go to sleep. We want to review this lesson. Take some time just to meditate on it. Let it sink into your heart. And then on the hour, to stop and just remind ourselves, let not my world obscure the sight of Christ. This is especially helpful if we get into any kind of difficulty. Maybe something just rubs us the wrong way, and we start to feel a little bit of a resentment or a bit of a judgment happening, either towards ourselves or towards others. Let not my world obscure the sight of Christ. My judgment obscure the sight of Christ. Let not my resentment obscure the sight of Christ. Let not my fear obscure the sight of Christ. Let not that person's comment obscure the sight of Christ. If we have the willingness to continue doing these practices, our prayers will be answered. Dear God, please do not let any distractions of this world obscure the sight of Christ. Thanks so much for listening right until the end, my friends. If you enjoyed today's video, please share the love. Tell others about these videos. Encourage them to start at lesson 1 and only do 1 lesson a day. Are you ready for our special treat? Here's one of the beautiful paths that I get to run along every morning. Absolutely beautiful. There were just some coatimundis that ran under the fence here, but I was too slow. I missed them. And look at this amazing tree. I love Mexico. Let not my world obscure the sight of Christ. Have a blessed day, my friends. I love you.